of you who are staying with me, the handout is called Google Sites. This has the step-by-step instructions for what we are going to do now and for what you might want to do in the future. So if you pull this handout up out of your stack, I'll just briefly thumb through it with you. We're going to start with page 1. We're going to create a Google site together. I'll show you how to get to it once it's created. Then page 2, we're going to learn how to put content on a Google page, on a Google site, and how to put an image on that site. Page 3, at the top, embedding Google content. That's how you get a Google Doc, a Google PowerPoint, a form that you create with the form tool. We're not going to do that together, but the instructions are easy enough. You'll be able to do it on your own when you want to do it. We will embed a Symbaloo web mix, but not until toward the end of our session tonight. Page 4, I'm going to show you how to put a hyperlink on some text on a web page. I will not get into hyperlinked images, but again, it's super simple and the instructions are there, so you'll be able to do that on your own. I will show you page 5, how to add additional pages, and I'll even show you how to delete them. Page 5 also tells you about the 4 different types of web pages that you can put on your Google site. And Ellen talked to you about the announcements page. She talked to you about the file cabinet page. I think she mentioned the list page also. The beginning page that everybody starts with is a web page, so we'll all see that together. Using the file cabinet is on page 6. I kind of doubt we'll get time for that. If we do, fine. If we don't, there's a lot of information there. I am sure we will not get to page 7, which I see now doesn't have a number at the bottom of it. It's probably because that little block was covering it. But there will come a time when you want to control permissions for certain pages. You want some kids to have access and other kids not, because there will be project pages that kids are working on. So that will show you that. And then page 8 is a lot of the fancier stuff. How to put a fancy header on, how to do some management things like control, change the theme. We'll start out with a theme tonight, but you may decide you want to change that. So the fancier stuff is on the last page. Now please know, this is Google, a Google product, and Google owns YouTube. There isn't a single thing you want to know how to do that there isn't a YouTube video that will show you how to do it. So all you have to do is put into the Google search engine, how do I da-da-da-da-da, boom. You're going to come up with a video on how to do it, okay? Now Google does change the look of the interface periodically. So when you're looking for those YouTube videos on how do I do this, look for one of the more current dates. Don't look at a 2008 video because I guarantee it's not going to look like that anymore. Okay? So let's get started. You're going to find out this is so much fun and so easy to do. You want to get a new tab. You can leave open everything that you have, but you want to get a new tab. And in the search box, you want to just type Google Sites. And the very top thing that's returned should be sites.google.com. Go ahead and click. Now, because I'm logged into this computer with my Google account, you will see all of the sites that I have created with Google Sites. And not only that, but some sites that other people have shared with me. For instance, this BMMSEM1 history, that's a teacher friend that I have in India. And she needs help periodically doing things with her website. So she gives me share permissions to her website. And we talk back and forth through email or texting, and I help her out with her website. This global greeting happens to be one that my daughter did to communicate with a school group in Senegal, Africa. And I helped her build that site, so she gave me access to it. And just different things here. But what we're going to do, you don't have any sites listed here, I'm assuming. There's a red Create button. So if you will click the red Create button, which on your handout is number 2 on the first page, you will see, there's almost nothing I'm going to say tonight that's not written on this piece of paper. You will see that there are some different templates that you could use. And the temptation is going to be great to say, woohoo, they created one for classroom sites. I think I'll use that. No, please don't. These templates are truly beautiful, but they are confining in that it will give you a certain layout for your pages, and you can't change it unless you know a lot of HTML coding. And I think I know a lot of HTML coding. I've coded web pages with it before. I can't break some of this. So my suggestion to you is always to use the blank template. And then the next thing you're going to do is come up with a name for your site. And this, I tell people, is always the trickiest thing, because being teachers, we want a clever, catchy name. And the problem is there have been millions of people before you who have already created Google Sites, and doggone, they've already stolen all the great names. So you've got to work at coming up with something that maybe somebody hasn't taken. Maybe it'll be a twist on the spelling of it. I don't know. But here's the deal. You want to use capital letters where they should be, because we're teachers and we abide by those rules. You want to use punctuation where it should be. And I suggest keeping it relatively short. You don't want a name that's this long. Okay? Like, I think the name Ellen came up with is pretty doggone long for the web page that we've been using. But that might have been all that she could run with due to the fact that other names might have already been taken. So I'm going to call mine Metzger's Practice Site and hope that that works. Metzger's Practice Site. But you can call yours anything. And if this is truly just going to be a practice for you until you get your feet wet, you can call it last name in your practice site, and I pretty much guarantee nobody's going to have that name out there. So put in whatever name you've decided you're going to try out, and you will notice that in this box here, it has stripped the punctuation out, it has stripped the capital letters out, and it has stripped the spaces out. That's okay. That's what's going to show up in the URL line. It is not what's going to be printed at the top of your website pages, okay? This is what will be printed at the top of your website pages. Down here, this is what the actual URL will be, and I'll show you how to shorten that with the Google Shortener. So after you type a name, you can select a theme, and Google has a good collection of themes. The only thing I would caution you about is the colors red and green, simply because if you have any colorblind male students, red and green is where they will have trouble. I can speak because I have a colorblind husband and I test stuff out on him. What color is that? Oh, that's brown. No, that's green. And they absolutely can't see certain things. Now, even though you pick something now, it can be changed later. Whatever you choose is going to be the design on every single page. You cannot get away from it. But that's the price you pay for a free application. That is truly pretty powerful, but there's not a teacher out there that doesn't go, I want to make every page look different. I understand where you're coming from. So pick something. Under more options, you could put in a site description. And that site description is what Google will use to put in a search engine. If you were to type certain things into a search engine, they would use that site description. Those keywords would cause the robots to categorize it in certain ways in a Google search. So I typically ignore that, and Google seems to pick it up on its own. I'm not making web pages for the world to see. I'm usually making web pages for my students to see or people I work with to see. So I don't typically worry about that. And then the last step, which is step 9, I guess, is to put in the CAPTCHA. And why do they do this? They do this to keep people from spamming them. Now, this is the spot where it will tell you somebody already has that name, and it will suggest other name possibilities. It will suggest other possibilities. And you can run with those, or you can throw that idea out and come up with something totally different. Did everybody manage to get a name in? Have you heard people talk about wikis? PB Wiki, wiki spaces. Wikis, the word wiki means quick in Hawaiian. And it's basically a quick way of creating a web page. Google Sites uses the wiki engine to build web pages, which means it's quick. And let me show you how quick it is. At the top of your screen, you will see a pencil. And if you hover over it, the pencil says Edit Page. You will also see a piece of paper with a plus sign. Hovering over that will allow you to create an additional page. And the gear, if you click the drop-down arrow, will allow you to do all kinds of extra things, like print the page. I'm not thinking that I've ever copied the page, but every once in a while, I guess you would want to copy the page. If you were creating web pages for students, to different student groups to do research on, and you might want to set up one template page and then copy that for multiple groups in your classroom to put their research out on. I could think that that might work. Some of the other things down here, site actions, managing site, those kind of things are covered on pages 7 and 8 of your handout. So that's where you'll come when you're going to go mess with some of that stuff. Editing site layout, those kind of things. But for openers, we're just going to get some information on this page. So if you will click the pencil, you will now be looking at something that looks very much like Google Docs or like one of the early iterations of Microsoft Word. You've got a toolbar at the top with Insert, Format, Table, Layout, and Help. Help is always good. Google's really good at it. Then you have some fonts. And the interesting thing about web page design is that the world is not your oyster anymore. You have a limit. And that is because there are only a handful of fonts that are recognized by every computer in the world. And Google knows this. So they only give you a handful of fonts. Now, in my own craziness, I would avoid this thing called serif. Serif fonts are fonts with feet on them. Times New Roman is one of those. You know, it's not just a T like this, but we got to have doodads on the ends of all the things. They call those feet. And that tends to make a web page really busy and hard to read. So I would avoid using that. Whatever theme you chose, it comes complete with its own set of colors for typing and its own fonts. So this one, Courier New, happens to be the default. I love Verdana. That's actually my favorite font to type in because it's clean and simple. But I don't want to have to change the font on every page, so I'm probably going to stick with their Courier New. When you go to font sizes, again, you don't get the choices that you get in Microsoft or even in Google Docs, because there's a finite number of sizes that web page coding can handle. And this is basically it. 10 is typical. I would say the word home here is more than that. I don't know what it is. But anyway, I would get rid of the word home and I would type the word welcome. I hate that word home. That's the default name for any page that you start out with. And I always put something else. I type greetings or welcome or, I don't know, I just don't like home. This is the page that everybody will come to first when they visit your website. So I try to make it a little more homey than home. Now, when you click down into the body, and notice that the word home showed up in the navigation pane over on the left-hand side. But if you click the word save, it's now going to change to welcome. Now I can come back to the pencil and I can edit the page. So basically what you're doing when you're making a website with Google Sites is you're clicking the pencil, you're typing something, you're clicking save, and you're going back to look at it the way the world will see it. It's quick. Wiki, wiki. Quick, quick. Okay? So, type a sentence. Hello, welcome to my website. I am a teacher at whatever high school or junior high. Okay, so type a welcoming sentence and then click the word save, and you will see your website the way the world could see it if they could get to it right now.
So the box that all your stuff's in, was that a template? Because I thought you chose no template or blank template.
No matter, this is a blank template, so what this allows me to do is I can come up here to the layout and I can say I want 2 columns simple, I want 3 columns simple, I want 1, I want 2, and so on and so forth. I want a table in it, whatever. If I had chosen that teacher classroom site, it would have been all designed for me and I'd be clicking in different boxes everywhere. But because I chose blank, I just get one nice big blank box. So for instance, here's the site that Ellen and I have for you guys. This is one page, our session 4 materials, and as we typed more and more and more, it got bigger, 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 and got a scroll bar in it, and it keeps on going and keeps on going. Okay? So it just expands for as much as you need. See? Pretty cool, huh? Very simple to do. So, have you clicked save? I want you back at the spot where the pencil and the add a page buttons are here. Make sure you click save. All right? Right click the address line. Right click it. It should highlight. Now, if you hover too long on this computer, it goes on. Copy it. All right. Open a new tab. Type in GOO.GL. That's the Google shortener. Now, it might be that you put the Google shortener extension on your device. I have the Google shortener extension that I could come here immediately and get it, but I knew not all of you would have that.
But how long does the Google last?
Forever. Because you see my list here? It's only showing 1 of 28, but if I go back, I've got some from 2011. Okay? It doesn't lose them. Google must have infinite storage space. It blows my mind when I think about it. But anyway, in this box, right-click and paste it in, and then click Shorten My URL. Now, what you need to know, and your students need to know, is that those 6 characters after goo.gl are case sensitive. You know, like our Social Security numbers, we have 9 numbers, and there's like this infinite number of combinations, and that's why nobody has the same Social Security number. So how does Google do this with only 6? Why don't they need more? Because they use capital letters, and that would be a nice math problem for your kids to figure out. How many combinations could you do with numbers and letters and capital letters? So, how do I get this address across to my students? Well, I've been known to bookmark it on computers, but what I would do is I would write it on Post-it notes, and I'd stick each Post-it note on each computer, and surely they can type in those 6 characters. Sometimes I print it out on business cards that you can get business card stock from Staples or Office Depot, and you can use one of the templates in Word, and I just type that across, print out 30 or 40 or 50 of them, and I keep them in a rubber band stack in my desk, and I pass them out on each computer, and then at the end of class I pick them back up and save them for another time. So that's how I get websites quickly to kids so that they don't have to type forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay? You good? All right. Let's go back to our site. Now, let's get a hyperlink on. So go back to edit your page, click the pencil. Suppose we want to hyperlink to the Cincinnati Public School System website. And hopefully in your sentence or sentences that you have typed, you've gotten CPS or Cincinnati Public School written somewhere. If not, just type those 3 words now, or 4. 3. Cincinnati Public Schools. All you have to do is highlight those words. You can do it 2 different places. At least it's not like Microsoft where you can do it 5 places. You can go to this Hyperlink tool, or you can go through the Insert menu. There's the Hyperlink tool. Doesn't matter which way you go, you're going to get the same thing. Now here's the only place it gets tricky, because people start pasting right away, and that's not what you want. If you look at page 4 of your handout, at the top, you see a graphic in the middle, and there's a circle around web address, and the number 5 is there. You need to click web address. We're not going to a Google Sites page, we're going to a web address. That's the only tricky rabbit hole you might fall down, okay?
So if it were a Google Sites page, like the digital learning sites?
You'd still use a web address. I cannot think of a time, and you saw the websites I've made, and I've been part of. I can't think of a time when I've used Google Sites page. I can't think of one. I think it's a little goofy. So I'm going to paste, or no, I'm going to type www.cps.org. Is that what your website is? No, that's right. cps-k12.org.
So you click the pencil. After you highlight, what do you do?
You click the Hyperlink Tool. Let me cancel this a minute. After you highlight Cincinnati Public School,
Which I did.
okay, you find this Hyperlink Tool. It's about in the middle of the toolbar at the top. It looks like two chains.
Okay, I see.
Okay, click that. Yep.
Okay.
And then you're gonna click web address. Don't leave it on the thing that's defaulting there. Click on web address.
Okay, web address.
Uh-huh. And now you're gonna type in www.cps. Huh?
The short one we can use.
No, you're going to Cincinnati Public School System right now. So I want to show you how to create a link to someplace other than yourself. Okay? So I've typed in www.cps-k12.org. And step number 7 in your handout says to click a check mark in this little box here, which says open this link in a new window. And you always, always, always want to do this because otherwise they'll never come back to you. They'll lose it and they'll never get back in the right place. So one of the rules of web page design is when you send somebody someplace, make it open another window. Don't let them lose you. And then click OK. And click Save and test it out. When I click Cincinnati Public Schools, presto changeo, there we go. In a heartbeat, I get there. Okay? So you can type anything, any web address, and link to it. Now, could I also have typed in a website address? Sure. I could have typed www.nku.edu. Have you saved? We're in this mode right now where the pencil is showing. You've saved? Okay. Click the gear. Click the gear. The drop-down arrow by the gear. Click Edit Site Layout. Edit Site Layout. And if you watch mine first so you see it, because this is the other goofy thing that Google does that's not intuitive to most people. Watch my screen first. If I hover over Sidebar, Navigation will show up. And if I click that, it will pop this up. So do that with me.
Okay.
The things that are over here in your navigation pane are not only your pages, but they can also be hyperlinks to websites. Okay? Okay, and you get this screen. And there's a check mark here that says automatically organize my navigation. It's going to organize those pages alphabetically, which you probably do want, but you have to unclick that to get where we're going to go. Now, sometimes pages don't show up in the navigation for whatever reason. Usually they do, but every once in a while there's a goof up in Google and it doesn't. This is where you could come to add a page that you've made that's not showing up, but it's also where you can add a URL. So if you click Add URL, you could type in the text to display. I'll type in CPS. And then I'm going to type in the URL, which is www.cps.k12.org. And of course, I want to open this in a new window. Anytime you're putting in a hyperlink, you want to open it in a new window. You have to beat that into your head. Open a new window. And then click OK. And then click OK again. And click Close. And doggone if CPS isn't there. But, lo and behold, what happened to welcome?
Now it's navigation.
Now it does say navigation, and welcome is gone, isn't it? So now we got to go back. Once you mess with that, it becomes an eternal problem. And now I have to come back here and add a page, and I've got to find my welcome page. I've got to say, okay. So I'm going to come back.
Okay.
I'm going to go to Edit Site Layout. I'm going to come to my navigation. I'm going to click Welcome, and I'm going to move it up in line. And I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to close it, and now it's organized. There is a button, hyperlink at the bottom of your page that says Recent Site Activity. And one of the things, because this is Google, there's revision history. You can go back to something that happened earlier. But maybe it won't let me go and take that. I want to show you how to get an image on this page. So if you'll click the pencil to be able to edit your page. The trick with images in this world of copyright infringement is that you need to own the image that's going on there. And for teachers, you pretty much do, because you take photographs of kids doing things and you probably have acceptable use policies that allow you to use those photographs. Or you can take photographs of the science experiment or the math problem or whatever it is. Or you can convert a PowerPoint slide into a JPEG and you can use that. So to put an image on a web page, you go to the Insert menu, you click on Image, and you have two choices. You can either upload an image that you own on your device or on a flash drive that's inserted into your device, or if you happen to know a URL of an image, you could use that. Now, how do you get a URL? Well, I'm going to cancel this for a minute and show you how to find a URL. Find the tab that hopefully you have open with our Session 4 materials on it. And if you scroll down, there are a couple of pictures you could grab. You could get Ellen's B for Blogger. And if you click it, whoa, why is that not available? Well, let's go down and get my Wordle one. Why have they blocked that? Oy, oy, oy. I would say they do. There's no reason for that. All right, well, if they're going to block that, I wonder if they block all images. No, they don't. So you could do a Google search image, a Google image search. The kick is the URL has to end in .jpg. So you see what I did? I went to Google and I typed in Google Images, and then I went to Images, and by gosh, it came up with pictures of Google. Now these pictures you're looking at here are thumbnails. They're not the real image, they're the little version, not the big 8x10 glossy, they're just the thumbnail picture of it. But if I click on it, and then I click further to view the image, now I'm down to the actual JPEG, and I know I'm there because the address ends in JPEG. So if I copy this address, that's the one that I can go to. So I'm going to say insert an image, and I'm going to use a URL, and I'm going to paste in that URL. And it's going to say, is that what you want to do? I'll say, yeah, okay. Now it comes in one size. You can make it small, you can make it medium, you can make it large, you can make it 100%. Oosh, too big. I'm going to make it small. You can control the alignment. You can have it on the left, in the middle, or on the right. I would never put it in the middle because we all have attention deficit children. And if you put a graphic in the middle, it's called the dead center. And that truly sucks a kid into the middle of the page and they never get out. ADD kids, they go into a whirlpool when they see pictures and they're through the rabbit hole and they may not come out. So I never put pictures in the center of a page. Left or right, and I zigzag them back and forth and hope that kid will hopscotch back and forth across the page. You can text wrap, so you can turn on the text wrap and force it up in the middle. Sometimes it gets a little shaky because this is a... Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I can move it up. Well, I probably should have clicked up here before I put it in. And then when you click Save, your picture is in. And honestly, don't put pictures dead center. And don't make them too big. Big enough to see, not too big to suck that kid in, and they'll never pay attention to your words. The fewer words, the better. Lists are better than paragraphs. None of us like to read paragraphs. That's painful for the English teachers in the room to hear. But the bottom line is nobody reads paragraphs, right? We skim it. So help them out. Give them a list. Let them skim. Okay? So we've done page 1, we've done page 2 on your handout is entering content and entering an image. I'm going to get to page 3 when we do Symbaloo. We've done hyperlinks, at least the top part of page 4. Page 5 is how to add other pages. And I want to show you quickly how to put a blog page in because I know you will want to do that. So, click the second tool up there that looks like a piece of paper with a plus sign and it says create a page. And it's going to say name your page. And you can name it whatever you want and you can change the name later. That changed name will appear on your website but not in the URL. The URL will stick with what it was originally. Okay? So I'm going to call mine, my blog. It would help if I'd spell it right. Okay. Now, it wants to know what template we're going to use. And instead of a web page, which is the one we were working with, we're going to go to announcements. Keep it at the top level. That means it's going to show up in the navigation pane if you haven't deleted it like I did. And then click Create. Now, At the moment, there's nothing here. You could edit this page, and you could write a little information like, I'm going to edit this page. Check here periodically for class updates. Okay?
So you hit the pencil.
I hit the pencil.
Okay.
Now what that pencil did was it put a little information up here that's always going to show up at the top. But now when I want to make a post because the February newsletter is ready to come up, okay, I will hit New Post. Hello. And now I can name this. It's an untitled post. I can call it February newsletter. And down here I can type whatever the newsletter is. And if I typed it in Google Docs or in Microsoft Word or whatever, I just copy, paste. Okay? So I can put whatever I want in here. And when I click save, and you have to click save or nobody's going to see it. When I click save, it's going to pop up as the first item in my blog. Okay? If I come back to the My Blog thing, I now have one of one, and if I click New Post, I get another one. Okay, I'm going to call this March newsletter. And I'm going to type whatever I'm going to type here. And when I click Save, presto, I now have my March newsletter, and if I go back to my blog, I've got a running record of them with the most recent thing at the top, just like Facebook. The most recent post you put on Facebook rises to the top. Okay, here's one. My daughter partnered with this school in Senegal, and she made a blog page for each student. So Andriana had her own blog page, and she was paired up with Tandor in Senegal, and she would write messages to Tandor. Andriana dropped out, so it didn't keep going. And here was Bennett, and this is his blog page, and he was paired up with Abdu. And Caitlin was paired up with somebody else. This was the teacher in Senegal's website, Joko Connect. And so here are his students, and they each had a blog page, and they wrote back to kids. So on April 14th of 2010, Dear Stella, and these were these were high school students who were practicing their English with Corinne's second graders. And at the end, we actually did a Skype session with them, and each kid got to come up and speak in person to their pen pal in Senegal. It was cool beyond belief. Channel 12 came and did a whole nightly news thing on it. They sang songs to each other. They learned songs in Senegalese. It was an awesome project, but this is how we used the blog page. We gave each kid their own blog page because we didn't want to open up the American kids and have the Senegalese kids. We were just a little nervous about that part. So and then the two teachers communicated by email, and Pop would say, okay, Corinne, my kids have all responded. And Corinne would get on, and the kids would all read, and then her kids would write back, and she would say, okay, Pop, my kids have responded. And it was a little laborious, but it worked. You can control it page by page, who has permission. And you can give them a password so they get in. Now, my daughter, working with second graders, didn't do that because there was no way a second grader was going to get that. What she had was a parent volunteer to come in and sit with the kids, and one by one they typed stuff in, and the parent volunteer watched it, because you have to be careful. And we've got 8-year-olds. Yeah, it was painful, but the end result was beyond impressive. It was really something. So you could have kids partnering across the miles. Where's one? Well, I must have canceled it out. No, this one is between a Chicago teacher and a teacher that I happen to work with in India. And they're both science teachers. And so they partner with their high school science students working back and forth. And this site is owned by the teacher in India, but it's shared with the teacher in Chicago. And so they do science experiments, and each of these schools has groups, and they do things, and then they report on them, and they share them back and forth. It's really quite something what you can do with it. They share science experiments. They do them in India. They do them in Chicago. They share the data results. There's a lot of possibilities. Your mind just has to think of it. So what I'm going to offer myself for you, because I just whetted your appetite, and now it's like, holy cow, I can't do this without her holding my hand. I get that. You've got my email address from the emails I sent you. Honestly, send me an email. I will come to your school and help you. Or I'll work with you over the telephone, however it takes to help you do this. I love this kind of stuff. And honestly, I'm retired and I've got time. So if you want my help putting together stuff like this, I'm happy to help you. I know you saw the beginning of this, and your head is swimming, probably with possibilities, and oh my gosh, I need time to work with this, and yeah, you do. But I'm happy to help you in any way that I can. Over the phone, come to your school, work with you on a weekend, at a library, whatever it takes, I'm happy to help you. And you see, I fall down a rabbit hole sometimes because I got rid of navigation and now it's gone. I'm sure I can get it back. I'm just not going to spend my time here now to get it back. But this is so powerful. I've coded pages with HTML coding. This is like a gift from the gods. And Google gives it to you for free. You get 100 megabytes of storage space for every site you create. So if you have 20 sites, you got 20 times 100 megabytes. You know, my biggest sites don't even come close to 5 megs. And I've got a lot stored on some of them. Michelle from Malaysia, she was one of my students at NKU. I worked with a group of teachers that came as part of a program from the State Department. And so they created websites. And so I have posts of different things that they did. Their graduation day, their Mammoth Cave trip. And these are photographs that I took and uploaded, and it counts almost nothing. It counts as almost nothing. Took them to a robotics show. I took them to the State Department visit. And those pictures, you can put those pictures can go in blogs, they can go on the web page, they can go anywhere you want.